good afternoon. This is Rob, DC born Rob. Today we're going to talk about GoGo, what GoGo is. I keep getting the question, from some people, what type of music is that's in my intro? Certain people know, and as soon as you hear that, if you are from DC or maybe you visited DC in the past, you know what kind of music it is. It's GoGo music. GoGo's been around since I can remember, probably since I was 13 or 14, and I'm 57 right now. So as far back as I can remember, the first GoGo that I believe I heard was probably Chuck Brown. So if you've heard of Chuck Brown and the Soul Searchers was their name back then, started it off. Probably some of the hits you've heard of before, maybe Bustin' Loose or Run Joe, it spans the year. How the name got coined, GoGo, was the percussionist used to play with the cowbell, with the drummer, with the organ, the bass, and a horn section. And he figured out, they figured out at that time that when the song stopped playing, the people stopped dancing. So what he came up with was that he would continue to play through. There'd be a break, but it would just be more so the lack of other instruments and more the percussion kept going. And by percussion, I mean Congos #1, the drums #2, and probably cowbell #3. Those three things will continue to play throughout the intermission, which is probably just a song change, really. So a couple extra beats in there. And the music kept going and the people kept dancing. Let me tell you something. We used to go from dark until 6 a.m. There's certain places in DC, let me tell you, from the Calorama Room to the Eye Bags to Crystal, you name it. I mean, the music was all over. My thing and my band, when I was in high school anyway, was Trouble Funk. They used to play at the White Oak Armory, just outside of D.C. And, a lot of people will think in D.C., they think the inner city limits of D.C. itself, D.C. proper. But Maryland and Virginia are so close. D.C. is tiny. I mean, I think I can run across it in probably, a half hour if you give me enough time. But so it's a small area. So we're talking the whole D.C., Maryland, Virginia area all thrived on GoGo back then. So what happened was there were a few bands that got it started. Chuck Brown got it started. Next, I'm probably guessing, and I may guess wrong, but I'd say Trouble Funk, Rare Essence. EU, which is Experience Unlimited. You probably heard Doing the Butt, and I think it was School Days, one of Spike Lee's old movies. But you just know that percussion in the background. You know you're listening to GoGo when you hear it. So, I mean, there's quite a few people that picked it up. The first ones were, you know, because back then when I was in high school, rap just started going. So, you know, from Run DMC, Salt and Pepper. Salt and Pepper's got a few songs with a go-go beat in the background. I think it was Herbie the Love Bug that picked it up. He was their producer. So it spread, it got outside of DC a little bit, but it never reached its potential. I honestly think I could take go-go to Houston, I could take it to Seattle, I could take it to Miami, and we'll be banging it out, especially in an urban atmosphere, meaning in the city. The beat makes you bop. So you'll listen to some go-go, and you know, even when I hear my my intro start up, I'm banging to it every time. By the way, I created that beat. Electronically, of course. I bought a bunch of beats and I put them together and created a few different options, and that one I settled on for my intro. Had to be short, but go-go still thrives today. When I go home, and I'm going home in a week, and my countdown is on, 1 week from today, I'll be home next Friday to DC. Yes, I'm coming back. I want to see some go-go number one. Number two, I want to, well, let me take that back. Go-go I live on, but I want some Lito's Pizza first. So first it's Lito's Pizza, then it's go-go, and or should I put family and friends in there too? Probably a close second. But I hit my Lito's first. As soon as I land, that's the first place I go. It's Lito's Pizza. If you haven't been, get some. Another thing DC is known for, crabs also. But back to the go-go. So every time I go home, I have to listen to go-go. Last time I went to Tacoma Station, well-known spot, used to be a jazz spot, but every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it depends, they would play go-go. Subtle Thoughts or Essence, or last time I went home with my girl, I think it was a year, or was it last Christmas or Christmas before, I think it was 2 Christmases before, we ran into EU, and they're like, Sugar Bear's here, and I'm like, of course, she's like, Sugar Bear and Ja Funk or James Funk, they have the sound, the voice. It's pretty much a shout out over the beat. So, and in a rhyming fashion too. And what would happen is people would write on, you know, back then on a piece of paper, Bevnap or a matchbook, write on a matchbook, and it says a shout out to James from Southeast, or Rob from Northeast, or Riggs Park, or Surgeon Quarters, or Barry Farms, and they get a shout out for that area. Actually, the last time, I think maybe the first or second time I took Catherine back to DC with me, we caught go-go, and I scheduled this too, go-go, and had a meal and before the band started, and then came out. I actually got her a shout out, so it was like happy birthday to Catherine in a rhyming fashion too. Happy birthday to Catherine all the way from the Philippines or whatever. I told them, I said, and basically I just wrote on a napkin and say, can you give a shout out to my girl for her birthday? And they do that. So what we used to do way back when was, we used to carry cassette tape players. You remember the old boom boxes, like you see in some of the movies, Do the Right Thing, Radio Raheem. We used to carry those around with a cassette tape in it and record it. So they were known as PA tapes. So people would have collections of PA tapes. I got Yunk Yard Band from, forget about them, Yunk Yard Band from the Ibex, or I got Trouble Funk from, I don't know, White Oak Armory or something like that, or the Armory, DC Armory. And they'd have a list of it, and you could get your shout out on that tape. So when you put that in your car, you took it home, you could bang with your music coming through it, with your name coming through it over their beat. And they would just, you got to listen to it. And I've got to play some James Funk because, man, as far as I'm concerned, he is it. Well, behind Chuck Brown, he is it when it comes to calling out names. Because I'm going to tell you, Chuck's got a groovy jazz beat, and then he start playing the go-go. And I've seen him play, and he'll play like some Mr. Magic or something, you know, some ding, 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 and people just wasn't feeling it. People that paid to hear Chuck until he stopped, run Joe, until he started playing some go-go, nobody was into it. And since then, he's since passed on. Lil Benny has passed on, and those are two of the major names of GoGo in DC. You know, everybody has supported GoGo through the years. My former mayor, Marion Barry, my mayor, Marion Barry, rest in peace as well. But he supported GoGo and lived by GoGo. And the only reason I think GoGo didn't expand outside of DC is because a lot of the shout outs were going out to some gangs back then, or just say just groups of people, groups of different neighborhoods, and they had some problems, and a few people got shot outside of a few clubs. So it was like, you know, they just, whatever the police chief was, just, you know, created a war on GoGo, and, you know, it shut it down. A lot of places from the Paragon too, if you know that, anybody from DC knowing, that was my spot up on Wisconsin Avenue. So, you know, even the nightclubs will play music, even disco, you know, when it got along, you know, I guess 80, 81, they're playing Michael Jackson and Prince and all that stuff, and everybody's dancing, but it did not get going until probably 12:30, 1 o'clock, until they switched over to some GoGo. And then let me tell you something, the walls sweat in these places. I mean, if you can't tell by my voice right now, I love some GoGo. So I'm going to play some GoGo in here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each band and who started it. Really, well, again, I'd say Chuck started it. He got it going, and he coined the phrase of GoGo because the music kept going and going and going, and GoGo and GoGo and GoGo. So the beat kept going. You see kids all around DC. It's still to this day, I still walk around like this when I hear some of them playing. And one of the baddest Congo players I got to show up here in a second is Smoke. Smoke played for RE, which is Rare Essence, and a few other bands. But let me tell you something, man. You want to know skills? I hope I get to meet him when I'm home too. If I wasn't so busy right now, I'd reach out ahead of time and see if I can't find where he is. Because let me tell you something, man. GoGo is live in DC. I will see GoGo. I caught Chuck Brown All-Star Band during my last trip home. I forgot the name of the place. It was in Maryland. Anybody help me out? Man, the acoustics were incredible. And one day a few years ago, probably one of the best nights I've had out listening to live music. And if you know me, you know I love live music. So wherever we go, reggae, go-go, whatever I'm going to hear. I came home one night and I said, man, I want to hear some GoGo. But I was in Houston. So I was like, man, do I fly home to hear some GoGo? I just, I put that out in the universe. And I kid you not, within an hour, I got an alert on my phone. It was from Pledge Music. I don't even know how I ended up on this list, but Pledge Music. And it says, you want to go see Chuck Brown All-Star Band? This is after Chuck Brown passed. So it's about 3-4 years ago. And I'm like, yeah. And it said, you want to go to DC or do you want to go to Atlanta? And back then I was like, man, I don't even want to go to DC anymore. I'm through with it. People stress me out when I go home, man. My blood pressure goes. It's tense. It's not like it is here in Houston and Texas. People are a lot more laid back. You get stressed and you catch an attitude when you get back. What? So I don't like that. I don't like being like that anymore. So I said, let me go to Atlanta. And I had backstage passes. So I went down and met Sweet Surya. I got pictures with all of them, with Chuck Brown's son, with Kiki, his daughter. And I was right on the stage. I'll show you that video too.
How y'all feel? Y'all feel all right? y'all to make Chef good right now. I want y'all to say, wind me up, Chef. Say what now? Wind me up, Chef. Say what now? Wind me up, Chef. Do what now? Wind me up, Chef. Say what now? Wind me up, Chef. See what now? Wind me up, Chef. What?
Love my life. Love my life.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was on stage and they were playing Run Joe, man. That was an incredible night. But I want to let you listen to some Go-Go. I may talk over it a little bit, just explain who everybody is. But between Chuck Brown, Rare Essence, Yunk Yard Band, EU, Backyard Band. Backyard Band has a you believe it or not, Pieces of Me, I'll show that one too. That's actually a country song. I had to look it up. Man, it jams, but they put that beat in the background of it and you got to bounce. And it's a slow groove too, you know. But if it's coming through a nice sound system, man. So if you hear my intro, when you hear it, you know what it is. It's go-go music. So let's listen to a bit of it now.
I won't stop till you're there.
ended up playing some of the videos during my talk. So you've heard a lot of the songs that I was speaking of. I'll go ahead and I'll send you out with, I guess, a drum solo from the night I had in Atlanta with the Chuck Brown All-Star Band. Hey, thanks for watching. Do me a favor. Like this video if you like it. Comment, give me some feedback, and subscribe. It helps me grow my channel. I'll be in DC in a week. Please check me out there. I'm going to have some good videos from there. I'll have my Litos. I'll have my Ben's Chili Bowl. I'll get past the White House, the Supreme Court, the Capitol, the Monument, the African American Museum, on the mall. Check me out. Do me a favor. Subscribe. Just go down right now. Subscribe. Appreciate you all. Thanks.
Like it. Please subscribe and kick the bell.